Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we are hanging out with me. Sorry, you're stuck with just me. I promise I'm going to try to be a third as entertaining as our usual experts. But today's going to be a fun one because I haven't had a chance to really play with Netlify Edge Functions yet. Some of you may know over the last year, I transitioned into a role as a VP at Netlify. And that means that the only coding I get to do these days is on this show, which is why I love this show so much because, I'm a tinkerer at heart. I love playing with things. I love getting a chance to try new things out and learn more about what's going on in the ecosystem. Not only because it's important for my job, because Netlify is very focused on the ecosystem at large, but also because that's where I find the most joy. And as you all know, I love playing around, being goofy, being weird, and messing with things on the internet is one of my favorite ways to get more joy into my life. So, this show is basically that source of joy for me. So thank you all for hanging out. Very excited to be here and having a good time. And thank you. What up, Ben? I see you rated with some friends. Thank you very much. I see some other folks in the chat as well. Hello, Ryan, Adrian. Who else is in here? Let's see. I see Nikki's here. Dave, what's up, y'all? Thank you very much. Yeah, I got a centered t-shirt. I actually got a whole box. Hold on, let me show you. So this is cool. I got this box from the team. Wait, come on, get me in focus. There we go. Yeah, so this is a box from the team at Centered that is just like a felt box. Says enjoy your flow inside. And there's a cable on one side. And the idea is that when you're working, you put your phone into this box and then don't look at it. So we can do this. Watch. We're gonna do a little flow. So here's my phone, goes in the box. Bada bing, bada boom, no distractions. So thanks to the Center team for sending that over. Appreciate it. And we just had actually Ulf from the Center team was on the show. So I can let me find a link actually, because that was a fun discussion. We messed with dynamic images, but we also had this kind of mini podcast at the beginning about staying focused, which I loved. Is Dave, are you suggesting that we store grapes in the felt box? Is that the idea? Because there's fabric in there. That seems like a bad idea. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about why we're doing this episode today, because I think we're starting to circle around what I think is going to be a pretty big leap forward for the web. And I think this is something that it's like a multi-pronged change. So there's a few things that are happening. The first thing is something that we've been talking about a lot on this show. We've been looking at frameworks like Solid, like Quick, like Astro, like Slinkity, that are all starting to look at this idea of what does it look like to have frameworks that aren't entirely reliant on JavaScript and that are instead finding ways to ship less JavaScript, to look at progressive enhancement again, to ship things that don't make us, I know that there are frameworks like Hugo and Eleventy that have been doing this for a really long time, or Jekyll. But one of the challenges that you run into with like Jekyll and Hugo is that they are going to give you the ability to ship something, a static asset to the front end. But then if you need interactivity, you're on your own. You got to build that yourself. And then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum with like Create React app, where you're building something that lives entirely on the client. But if you need that server rendering part, you got to build in things and add, Babel and server-side rendering and a bunch of stuff like that. So what's interesting about this new wave of frameworks, Astro and Slinkity focus on this idea of partial hydration, which is that you build with React or Svelte or Vue or whatever your language of choice is, and you kind of build it as if it was going to be a single page app. But then on the build time, only the things that are actually interactive get turned into JavaScript. They require the rehydration. We've got things like Solid.js that are focused on what does it look like to build a React-like framework. And if Ryan's watching this, I'm sorry for calling it a React-like framework. I know that there's a lot of nuance there, but what I mean is the user experience of building in JSX and having something that's component based, where you then ship very little. What does it look like if the runtime is just a couple of kilobytes, because we get to leverage the platform and we don't have to worry about polyfilling for events, and we don't have to worry about all this cross browser stuff, because now browsers have done a lot of work to bring all these things together. And then we've got things like Quick, where Quick is looking at this idea of very, very aggressive lazy loading and chunking, and making sure that things that aren't used on the page never get loaded at all. So when you load a page with Quick, you get zero JavaScript. All of these are episodes that we have on the show. So let me go ahead and pull some links for everybody if you want to talk about these. So here's Astro. We'll throw that one in here. And let's also look at the Slinkity. So here's Slinkity. And let's also pull up the, there was an episode on Solid, and there was an episode on Quick. So let's get the Solid episode in the chat. And here's that Quick episode. And these are just, these are a few of a what I would consider to be a pretty exciting new wave of kind of what happens now, right? Like we've seen this progression of the web, and this is what I think it's an amazing thing, because we had a really challenging time building for the web when there were what we all lovingly remember as the browser wars, when you couldn't get things to function between Internet Explorer and Netscape. There was the user agent nonsense, and just so much trouble trying to get things to function. And then we had jQuery and MooTools and a group of JavaScript libraries that came out to sort of normalize this. jQuery was a lot of things, but what it ultimately was a normalization layer for JavaScript development on the web. And it gave us the ability to just write a click handler or write a selector, and they polyfilled all of the selection stuff that needed to happen to get it between Internet Explorer, Netscape, or Mozilla, or whatever you were using. But as the browsers progressed, APIs unified, jQuery wasn't necessary anymore. So we were able to build Query Selector all into the browser along with some of the other APIs. And that meant that you didn't need to load jQuery so much anymore. You could just use the browser to do that thing, use the platform, right? But then React was kind of like, okay, well, what if we want to do more like client-side component-based stuff? We want to add more event handling. We want all these other things. Well, now we need a framework, right? So we start building in these component frameworks. We've got Angular, Vue, React, Svelte, and many more. I'm leaving things out, but we have so many opportunities now to build with these frameworks. But again, they're polishing over limitations of the platform, because the platform was being used for something that it wasn't originally being used for. Now we're building apps. We're building, these really interactive experiences, whereas previously we were building pages. The web was for documents. So in this app-based world, component-based frameworks are really starting to shine, but we're seeing further progress. The browsers are starting to do work to support these more appy applications without needing to do a bunch of polyfilling, without needing to do a bunch of really replacing implementations. Like React synthetic event is not necessarily as useful anymore because the browsers have caught up. So what is the next iteration? What's the next thing that happens? And that is being coupled with this new kind of infrastructure layer that we're seeing. We went from people hosting things on servers in their closets to having their own server farms. And you would have, every major company had some warehouse somewhere where there was a rack of servers, and somebody who had to, I've got friends who've had to go sleep on the floor of a server farm so that they could restart the server whenever it crashed during a big launch. We all moved to the cloud. So we've got AWS, Azure, we've got, what else? Google Cloud and IBM Cloud, so many different places where people are putting things on the cloud. But then, now we've got Docker, we've got Kubernetes, a lot of config there. And when you're talking about the web, that's not as useful anymore. You're now talking about a lot of overhead and boilerplate for something that's exactly the same 99% of the time. And that's led us to this idea of more cloud-based stuff. We've like the cloud, right? But services like Cloudflare Pages and Netlify and Vercel and Layer Zero and stuff like this, where we're now the configuration and deployment. We talked about Railway and Render and a few others as well. You don't need to configure that Docker container anymore. You don't need to figure out how to set up an API gateway or a DNS proxy or all of these routing layers around your object storage and your CDN and all these other things that are they're the same for most websites. So this Git-based deployment is here. Call it the Jamstack, call it the modern web, call it whatever you want. But the idea is that now you can kind of decouple building a front end from managing a front end, and it just works. You commit to Git, you push to GitHub. Netlify picks up that change, builds your site, it goes automatically live. Boom, done, amazing. And then we're a little step further. Okay, you still need server implementation, so you've got APIs, you've got little chunks of form uploads, stuff you got to handle, and enter serverless. Okay, serverless is wonderful. You write just the logic, you put that into a folder in your Netlify site, and it just auto deploys. Proxies get set up for you. Everything just works. You're able to do a little bit of server code. And I feel like this means that a front end developer with just a tiny bit of node knowledge is now a full stack dev. That's huge. Okay, so then what's the limitation of that? Serverless functions are at the data centers. They're at Amazon's US East 1. They're at the London data center. So what does that mean for somebody who is halfway around the world? If you're using a serverless function and you're in Africa, that means that your request has to go from Africa all the way to US East 1 and back, which means that you're looking at like 400 millisecond delays because you've got a 150 millisecond hard delay because of the speed of light. That sucks, right? So we want to move the compute closer to where people are, and that's where this idea of the edge comes in. How long did it take me to get to that point? We are how many minutes in here? 13 minutes into a stream, and I've just finally made a point. Okay. All right. So what the edge is similar to serverless, but it's not the same thing. So I'm going to talk about it from the standpoint of Netlify Edge Functions, but there are similar implementations in Cloudflare Workers and some other providers. But what Netlify Edge Functions are doing is they are using Deno's Edge runtime, which means that Deno is doing deployment at different points of presence around the world, similar to a CDN. We move the things that you want nearer to the people who are going to use them. And then when you make a call, Deno allows us in Edge Functions, we've kind of built a convenience layer on top of it. We can intercept that request and just do stuff with it. So we can transform data. We can send requests to your telemetry. We can check whether or not somebody's logged in and redirect them somewhere. We can do all sorts of things that traditionally we relied on servers or client-side JavaScript to do, but we can do them right at the request time at that edge node, which opens up some pretty amazing possibilities. And that's what I want to play with today. I haven't had all that much time to try this stuff, so I really want to dig in. But let's see. I see a few questions in here. So Nikki's answering questions. Thank you, Nikki. Was that rehearsed? Sort of. I talk about this stuff a lot, right? So I've had a chance to, I've said these same things a few times, and so I get more practice. It's not just that I'm very good at ad-libbing, although I have been ad-libbing for 10 years of my career, so I also get a lot of practice at that, because the secret to being good at things is doing them over and over and over again. It's not innate talent. That's the pro tip, y'all. Keep showing up and you're going to get good at it, I promise. So let's see. Pratik is asking, do you think there's overcrowding in terms of frameworks because we're not taking a giant leap in technology? Rather, we're too much focused on speed? That's a good question. I would argue that it's... we focus on the thing that causes the most pain, right? And we had Ryan Florence on the show talking about Remix. And let me just pull up this episode here. When Ryan was talking about Remix, I at some point made a comment about how it feels like web dev goes in circles. And he made a really good point that it doesn't go in circles, it goes in an upward spiral. Because when you have a challenge, you look for a way to work around that challenge. And sometimes it's a hard limit. When we were at the time when browsers were completely incompatible, you couldn't just use the platform. It was untenable. So jQuery over here is a way for us to circumvent that problem. We build an abstraction that solves the problem. But then the platform improves. So we go back to using the platform. Now that looks like a circle. We went from the platform to a JavaScript library to a platform. But if you turn it on its side, we went from the platform to a JavaScript library to the platform. And then we had component-based problems. So we go back to JavaScript, but then the browsers get better. So we go back to the platform. And so it becomes this kind of upward spiral of progress where we spot limitations, we polyfill them, the implementation improves. We don't have to use the polyfills anymore. And I think right now what we're seeing is that JavaScript frameworks for a long time were focused on developer experience and ease of use because there were so many things that were painful about building for the web that we were really optimizing for building things in a way that was like, how do I get my whole team to use this system? How do I get everybody in the engineering org to be willing to agree to a single framework and to be willing to build in the same way? That's all about ergonomics. That's all about developer experience. But because we were focused on that, we lost sight a little bit about performance. And so now we have this problem where, yeah, it's really nice to build an app in React, but if you're not paying attention, you'll ship 500 kilobytes plus of JavaScript to the browser without even doing anything custom. You're just really like, oh boy, all of our libraries, 400 kilobytes. So now I think we're correcting. We figured out that the DX is really good with component-based libraries. I think as an industry, we've mostly agreed. I think we've converged on the fact that component is the way to go, for at least for now. So forever for now, we're component-based developers. How do we make component-based development not a bloated client-side heavy thing by shipping so much JavaScript to the browser? And that's where I think Astro and Svelte and Quick and Remix is trying to get in on this, and there's a lot of stuff happening that's pretty interesting in this space. And what I imagine is we're going to take advantage of the platform, we'll find another limitation, and then we'll see another JavaScript framework emerge that polyfills it, and then the platform will patch that gap. So it'll happen over and over again. I don't think this will ever end. This is how progress happens. We all just kind of move to ways that we work around the thing that's the biggest pain point. And it's noisy because people are always focused on different things, but we start to see clustering of focus. And I think right now the clustering is around performance and making browsers do the most work because browsers are pre-downloaded and browsers are optimized for the user instead of shipping JavaScript that's optimized for the developer and has to adapt to the browser environment, which means that extra polyfilling and so on and so forth. So Airbox is asking, Netlify Edge is similar to Vercel Edge and Cloudflare Edge? Sort of. So Cloudflare workers are a proprietary Cloudflare runtime, and it allows you to modify the request and response. So functionally, they're the same. Vercel Edge is a white label of Cloudflare workers. So the API is the same. They're using Cloudflare's infrastructure. And then Netlify Edge functions are... They intercept the request and response, but they're built on the Deno open runtime. So they're built completely on open specs, the request and response objects. So what I find exciting about it is that when you use Edge functions on Netlify, the docs end up being largely the MDN docs, like the open spec docs. And if you were to switch over to, say, Supabase, which has an Edge functions deploy, that's also built on Deno. And that means that you can just port things straight across. You don't have to use any proprietary runtimes. And as hopefully more providers start adding Edge functionality, my sincere hope is that they all decide to standardize on this open standard so that everything stays portable. One of my core beliefs and one of the things that Netlify is all about, which is why I joined the company, is openness is what drives this community. We don't want you to come into Netlify and stay because we did vendor lock-in. We want you to come to Netlify and stay because we built the best implementation of an open standard. So that's the major difference. And I think that's going to change because I saw a tweet from the CEO of Cloudflare about stay tuned when they were called on to open their standard. So I actually suspect that Cloudflare is working on something that's going to open up the standard, which is great news. I'm really, really excited about that. We'll see if it's interop. We'll see if it's just an open standard, open sourcing of their existing spec. I don't know. But yeah, so it's very, very interesting. Let's see what else we got. Hello, Smushgate. Yes, Smushgate. Adrian is asking, can you have normal Netlify functions and Edge functions at the same time? Yes, you can. We can actually try that today. We'll see how it goes. Let's see what else we got. The frameworks that will stay relevant will be the ones that allow for the spiral upward. That's a good point, Tony. I think that's sort of the thing, right? Is like being pragmatic is a great way to become future proof. I don't particularly like this author, but there's a term that I've heard called anti-fragile, where the idea is that you're not trying to build this like crystallized perfect thing. You're trying to build something that's flexible enough to survive the shape shifting of the landscape. Like, you know that a landscape is as big and volatile as the web is going to continue to evolve over time. And if you build a framework that is crystallized for this version of the web, it's not going to survive when it needs to adapt. So instead, you need to build something that's flexible enough and based on web standards and open to change and open to flex, so that you can, welcome in the changes and find a way to move forward with the web, or else you get kind of stuck behind. And even if you are open and flexible, because I don't necessarily think that jQuery was unwilling to flex, we just adopted so much of jQuery into the platform that jQuery was no longer necessary, which is such good news. I mean, that really is incredible. How long can an Edge function run? It is a little bit interesting. They can run for 50 milliseconds, but that's not like in total. There's 50 millisecond compute time, but you get extra time for like loading if you're going to make a call to a third-party API or something like that. I don't fully understand how it works. This is part of the challenge of where I am in my role, is like I don't get to play with this stuff and find out. Yeah, so maybe the right thing to do is to use this as an opportunity to swap over and actually start building some things. So what do you think? Let's do it. I'm gonna find the button. There we go. All right, here we are. Let's do this. So I dropped a bunch of links. If you scroll up in the chat, there's this episode with Ulf, because I'm wearing a centered t-shirt today. We've got Astro, which is trying to push forward shipping less JavaScript. We've got Slinkity. Ben, I think, is in the chat talking about Islands architecture. We've got Quick out here, which is looking at a more like ship less, be really intentional about the way that you lazy load so that you only actually load and use the JavaScript that's required. We've got Solid.js, which is a super lightweight, very performance-based runtime. And then we've got Remix, which is kind of a what if React was less client-side, which is another interesting way of looking at it, and something that I'm kind of curious to see how this evolves. I mean, I like Remix. It's because I realized I was like, these are great, and Remix. But the Learn with Jason side is built in Remix. I think it's great. I'm just very curious to see how all of this stuff evolves, because it does feel like we're at a little bit of like we're at a fault line where things are going to change in the way that web dev is working. But let's talk about the live captioning. So let me get back to the homepage here. And this episode, like every episode, is being live captioned. We have Ashley with us today from White Coat Captioning. Thank you very much, Ashley. That captioning is available on the homepage of the site. If you want to follow along, you can head over to learnwithjason.dev. And that captioning is made possible through the support of our sponsors. We've got Netlify, NX, and Backlight all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people, which I really appreciate, and I hope you do too. And you're hanging out with me. Sorry, y'all, you're stuck with me. You can follow me on Twitter if you don't already. I am at jlangsdorf. And we're talking today about, let's go to Netlify Edge Functions. So there are a couple ways that we can look at this. I'm going to look at, we're definitely going to need these docs. Let's start here. So the docs are in Netlify Labs. They're in a beta, so they're on by default. But there's still, there's some stuff that we got to figure out. We're getting feedback, everything. So this is a great time if y'all want to dig in to try this and send feedback. We've got this feedback button right here. If you want to let us know, you can send it to the forums. There's also in Netlify Labs. Have y'all ever seen Netlify Labs? Have I showed you this? So check this out. If we go to netlify.com and you go to here, there's Netlify Labs. And in here, you can see features that you can turn on. So I've obviously, I am opted into everything as I do, but you can choose which ones you want to be opted into. So we've got things like scheduled functions where you can run something on a schedule. You can visualize your Lighthouse score of your website, which is pretty dang cool. We've got Netlify Graph, which is a whole other thing that's very cool. And then Edge functions are apparently not opt-outable, so they're not shown in the list, but they are enabled. So what should we do first? I'm going to read the docs. How about that? Let's start by reading the docs here and figure out how to get started with an Edge function. And I thought it would be fun. Let's see if we can get them running on my personal site. So I'm going to go into GitHub and then we'll go to here and I'm going to pull the changes. All right. And then I can open this up and I'm going to have to remember what framework I built my site in. Okay. So it's built in 11D. And so I can, there's an 11D Edge experimental feature, but I'm going to build in straight Edge functions so that it's not framework specific today. And I want to just play with a couple of the features. So I am most interested in trying to figure out a way to well, let's just look at my site and try to decide what we should build. So here's my site. We've got a couple things. We've got this boop drop, right? So that's fun. We've got my bio checker. We've got this this photo thing where you can choose a different photo. We've got links to stuff like this, like my egghead, Learn with Jason, and Front End Masters. We've got a newsletter opt-in, and then we've got my posts. Okay, so there are a few things that we can do here. I think what would be fun to start is, what if we just put in something about where you are? Let's play with the geo, right? I feel like the geo is really, really cool. So maybe what we could do is, oh, this could be interesting. I wonder if, do you know anything about Amazon links? Where's one of these has got to be an Amazon link. I think I did everything through other services when I could. Here's an Amazon link. All right. So if I go to Amazon.com, but I'm in the UK, if I just go to .co.uk, does it work? I'll accept it. It does. Ooh, okay. I have an idea. Let's do this. Let's see if we can localize our Amazon links. And yeah, all right. That sounds like fun, because that's going to give us a couple things that we got to figure out too, because the data that comes in is from this uses page, which is actually the Notion API. And apparently I've hard coded that. Ooh, I should go fix that. So we've got all of this and I need to transform it. So I'm going to need to transform this API uses call and see if we can localize Amazon links. All right. So okay. First and foremost, let's see if we can get Edge functions running at all. So I'm going to make sure I have the latest version of the Netlify CLI. And localizing timestamps, that's a great idea. Okay, so if I get my Netlify version, I'm at 9.16.6. Is that right? Why did I think it was latest? So what I'm doing here is just double checking. I did the thing. Where are you coming from? And why npm I netlify CLI? You gonna make me do this whole thing? I am using Volta, and I can't remember why. Somebody told me it was good, and I tried it, and I just didn't bother changing anything else. Ben, can Geo be tricked by VPNs and proxies? That's a great question, and we should try it. If y'all have VPNs, get ready. We can give this a shot and see what happens. Can I get the latest version of the CLI though? What are you doing? Okay. How how though? All right. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this is happening. Let me see if maybe I like installed it into here somehow. I did. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's save that, and then I'm just gonna run an npm install. Oh my goodness. I had it locally installed was the problem. So now it should go to the top level. Ha 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 ha. Okay, so that's what I get for installing the CLI locally in a project. So now that I've got the right version of the CLI, I'm going to run Netlify dev. And failed retrieving add-ons. Double check my login. Oh, maybe I'm logged out. Oh yeah, I'm logged in as the wrong person. So let's log out. I made this demo for a silly video that we're working on, and I had to create. It was so over the top. I had to create like a GitHub org. I had to create GitHub users, Netlify accounts, all sorts of silly stuff to make this work. And now let's see, granted access. Here we are. So now if I run Netlify status, I should be logged in as myself. There's me. Good. This is the one I care about. So I'm going to run Netlify dev again. And this is going to pull down all of my environment variables that are stored up on Netlify. It's going to build all of my stuff, and it gives me a working version of the site that I'm zoomed way in on. So let me zoom out. And now I want to get a basic edge function running. So I'm going to come in here, and we've got this Netlify folder, and I'm going to create a new folder inside called Edge Functions. And let's create a new one called
so we would need to add code.
hello.ts. Right? And I need to install, let me get back to the docs here because I have to install the types. So let's get started. All right. So this is the JavaScript version. What if I want my TypeScript? Did you ever think that sentence was going to come out of my mouth, chat? Maybe I will just do it with JavaScript to follow the docs. So let's do that. I'll switch it to JS. And then I'm going to build one of these. So I'll actually just copy this straight up and drop it in. And so this is a response object from like the standards. This is the spec. So if I want to see what this is, I can just check MDN response, and this is the API for how these work, right? CLI create for edge functions. You know what? There definitely might be. Let's see. Recipes, create and modify files in a project. That sounds right. So let's go Netlify recipes help. And I can recipes list. Ooh, cool. Okay. Recipes VS Code. a new VS Code. All right. And then I need the Deno VS Codes extension. Let's see. So this just created like Netlify Edge Functions, an import map. All right. So then what else? What else do we get in here? Let's run Netlify help again and see build completion functions. Let's try Netlify functions help. Did that wrong. Oh, it did it. Netlify functions create. But I don't, it doesn't look like it does edge functions yet. So it might be in here, but I haven't tried it yet. So maybe it works, but for the moment we will treat it as if it doesn't. So let me get in here and we're going to use this. So the next thing I need to do is get back to the docs and we have to configure it. So we need to tell our edge functions where to work. So if I go into my netlify.toml down here, just down at the bottom, I can drop in my edge function. And if we hit the /test path, we want to run the edge function hello, which is this one here. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to run Netlify dev again. And hey, what's up? What's up, Alex and friends? Thank you for joining. We are talking about edge functions today. So we just set up our first edge function, which lives at hello.js. We're just using the standard response object, and we configured our site to run at the /test. It's going to execute this hello function. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so there is our first edge function running in the wild. And I believe if we update this, yeah, it updates in real time. So we've got local development and we are, this is, yeah, just going great. Kevin asking if I can talk with my sweet voice. Does that mean, are you asking for my date, like my late night radio voice? Who are what's going on, Devrel? What are we talking about? You know the sweet voice. I don't know, but I hope that was it. Let's see here. So we have a running function, but now I want to do more. So let's go play with the docs and figure out what we can find. So we've got our local testing running. That I'm happy about. We can deploy it. I'm not going to do that just yet. We don't need to monitor just yet. I want to look at, let's look at the API. What do we got? So we have the Netlify specific context object, and then we've got web APIs and Deno APIs. So I'm running it with Netlify dev. So I ran Netlify dev up here, and it picks up like our function server and all those things. And then it should say, maybe it says somewhere down here that it picked up an edge function. It doesn't say that it, oh yeah, loaded edge function hello. And then it also shows us when we call that edge function. So this is Netlify dev, just the Netlify CLI, which is, this is like one of the reasons that I love this CLI so much, is that it did all of this for me so that I didn't have to. Like it auto detected that we're using 11D. It started a serverless functions setup. It's running my build command. It loaded all my environment variables, and it's running our edge functions for us so that I don't have to do any stuff. Yeah, Ben has a great answer to the question from Shyam Gurnath about is edge functions like APIs? Edge functions can be like APIs. Like, check this out. If I wanted this to be my API, I could do something like this. Let's do, where are the helpers? There's a helper in here that I want. Let's, we can go to GeoJSON. All right. So if I get my context object, which comes in as the second argument, then I can do something like, oh, this also goes to our setup here. So what if I do like response.json and I say message hello chat? Is that going to work? Because that'd be neat. Let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens. So I'm going to come back out here. Response.json is not a constructor. Okay. Response.json is not a function. Okay, so what if I do it like this? There we go. Okay, so this Netlify specific context is letting us kind of short circuit setting up the response object. We can just say context.json. And now this could be an API. I could come out here and change my netlify.toml to say like API get greeting, right? And then if I come out here and I go to API get greeting, I might have to restart for this to work. Oh, there it is. So now we've built a little tiny Edge API. So this would mean that anything that gets requested from here, the actual processing would get done at the Edge node instead of at a serverless function at a data center. And so the trade-offs here are like, if I'm making a call to a data center, I'm not getting rid of that round trip. So it might make sense to keep that in a serverless function where like my serverless function is in the same data center as say my planet scale database or my Supabase database. And so that communication between the two is going to be just ultra fast. But if I'm doing something like say transforming the response, putting it right next to the user is a great way to think about that. Let's see. Can you JSON stringify the context? I think that's what this is doing here with the context.json. Why did Netlify choose Deno for Edge functions? We chose Deno because Deno is built on open standards, and we thought it was important that we build on standards that are open documentation. So response.json or the response object in general and the request object that goes with it are the building blocks for Edge functions and what Deno runs on. So this felt important to us because it means no vendor lock-in. It means that once you build these, anybody else who builds an Edge runtime that uses the same standards, you'll be able to port your stuff over very, very easily. It even does your laundry. You're correct. Deno the better node? I don't think so. I think that they are different approaches. You know, Ryan Dahl built both, or started both, I should say. And I think that Node has been wonderful for what it is. And I think that Deno has a different application and has a lot of potential for doing, solving a different problem. And let's see. So just scrolling on down. Given that these Edge functions run on Deno, do we need to consider whether or not we can test them locally with Deno? No, because the Netlify CLI will test them for you. So we are running, I don't have Deno installed on my computer. I am running Deno through Netlify CLI. And so you get to use these features where we're running Edge functions. That is happening based on our CLI. I didn't have to install Deno or anything. So let's play a little bit more, because what I want to do next is start actually messing with responses, because I think the thing that's really cool here is like what Edge functions are is not like a serverless function where it's the end. It can be something entirely different. So I'll keep that one over there for reference if we need it, but let me set up another one that is, let's do like a geo Amazon.js. And so this is what we'll actually build toward for the rest of the thing. And so I'm going to do an async function, and I'm going to get my request object, and I'm going to get context, and I'm going to try and do stuff with it. But the first thing that I want to show is that I can do something like, from an Edge function, and then I can return request, I think. You know what? I'm not going to check the docs. I'm just going to run it. And then I'm going to go to netlify.toml, and I'm going to duplicate this block, but I'm going to actually have it hit the path of, let's see, where's my, I think I have my uses stuff loading in here. Yeah, API uses. And so this brings in my information from Notion, because I have like I have a Notion doc. Yeah, that's the wrong. I'm going to pull this off just in case something weird comes up. Let me go over here. Okay, that would have been fine to show, but I'm not going to worry about it. Stuff I use. Where is it? Yeah, so check this out. So this is the document that I use in Notion to track what I use. And I've got it in like a database. I have it broken down by gear, software, and then each of these is tagged with like what kind of stuff it is, and all those other bits, right? The things that are important to share. So then I load that in to this API that we're looking at here. So this is the Notion API. And then out here, I use that API to build out this page, which displays all my gear and all my software with a chance to go get details if you want it, right? So if you want to go look at that page, it lives here. And I want to transform this because there are going to be links that are Amazon.com. It looks like there's only 2 of them, but that's okay because that means that this is a low risk experiment and I want to replace the .com with .co.uk or some of the others. Yeah, Audrey, no guest today. You're stuck with just me. Sorry. So what I want to do is I want to do that transformation in here, and I'm going to do geo Amazon. So let's run this and see what happens. So it doesn't look like it picked up that new edge function, so I'm going to stop and restart to get it. Okay, it's got our functions now. And so if I come back out here and I go to API uses, there was an error with the function. Okay, so that worked, but I did something else wrong, which means I probably returned it incorrectly. So what do I need to send through? Maybe I just need to send in like context next. You know what I should really find is all the examples, because Phil and Salma and the rest of the DX team did a ton of work to make this easy to learn, and then I'm just absolutely not looking at the examples. So transform responses, let's just go out to the basics here. Hello world, return JSON, return an image, fine. Rewrite responses, proxy, custom, here we go. This is probably going to show me what I want. So, oh, if I just don't return anything, it's fine. Okay, that's good. Let's do that. So I'm just going to do nothing because why wouldn't I want to do less work? I'm going to come back out. I reload. Okay, so there's my API response. So that still works. But we also get, you see, we get our edge function running. So this means that we can do stuff. We can make transformations to the content. So I'm going to do, how do I get the request body? Let's go back to these examples again. And let's look at transforming the body here. So I'm going to do a text transformation. And this one says, yeah, like do the get method, and then we can transform. So let's say I can get the response by getting context next, can get the text by doing response.text, and then we can just transform it however we want. So let's do that. I'm going to get the response by saying await context next. I'm going to get the text by, and we know this is a JSON, the JSON response. Will this break if I do it like, I don't know, let's find out. So I'm going to try it as just text and see if I can get away with that because that's easier to deal with, right? So I'm going to say await response dot text, and then we can text dot, how did they do it? Return new response, text dot to uppercase. So return new response, and this would be text, but I want to do a replace, and we're going to replace Amazon.com, and we'll do like a GI, and that's global and case insensitive, I believe, and we're going to replace it with Amazon.co.uk. I just want to prove whether or not this works. Response, text to uppercase, and then there's the, why do we send the second response though? What is that for? Okay, so let's try this and see what happens. I'm going to refresh the page. It says what up from an edge function. I'm going to Amazon.co.uk. Oh my goodness, it just worked, right? So this is freaking incredible. Like how easy is that to be able to just say like, yeah, that's what I want. Like, just give me that. That is really, really, really cool. And because I added the GI, it does the full thing, global. Dang. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so let's look at what came through on the network. So I'm filtered down to JavaScript. So here is what we sent. Here's our response. If I go to my preview, we can see like all this stuff came through. And then if we look at the headers, it was sent through as text plain. Okay, that's, yep. All right, so let's send some more headers with it. Do I need to send more headers with it? I mean, I guess I could, right? So response.headers set. Does that work? Maybe. Let's try. I'm going to set content type, and we're going to say application JSON. Now, does that do what I want? Let's try. It did. Okay, so and this is the thing that's so cool about this stuff, right? Is like I've seen that before, and so I knew that like headers was gonna do what I wanted, and then we get a headers.set, and I can just set the thing, right? So this is so freaking cool. I love it. I absolutely love it. So so very, very, like, I don't know. It like, I know that I spend a lot of time building this particular blend of things. So for what feels intuitive to me is not going to feel intuitive to everybody. This is absolutely like an area that I have spent a lot of time in. But to me, this is so nice to use compared to the really proprietary APIs where like everything is a new object with a new set of methods and a new behavior. This is just super pleasant. So let's see if we can make that actually work based on the geo. So we don't actually need this request, do we? We're kind of living without it. So the next thing that I want is I want to console log the geo, and I believe we had localize with geolocation. So we have translations. Okay, so let's look at how we actually get this stuff. Context, geo, country code, and country name. Okay. So I'm just going to pull this directly out. Let's drop this in, and then I want to log these. So we're going to do country code and country name. And I just want to dump this into the console to see where it thinks I'm from. So I'm going to come out here. I'm going to log it. And we get, I'm in the US. Okay, that makes sense. Does it give us more detail than that? Like, do we, how fine-grained is the geo? API, Netlify, geo, we get a city. Ooh. Yes. All right, I want the city too. So let's get the city. And then we'll add this in as well. Log it, head over here. country, city. Okay, so I'm not getting the city. I wonder if that's because it's local dev or if I'm using it wrong. Also possible that I'm using it wrong. Let's go back. Geo, city, country code name. Oh, yeah, I'm using it wrong. Let's go back in here. All right, let's try that one more time. Boom, Portland. Very cool, like extremely cool that this is working. Could you run a traditional cloud function like one to render a whole SSR app on an edge function to improve performance? Yes, you can, and people are already doing it. So check this out. Remix Edge Functions. Where is it? It's like Cloudflare pages. Remix on Netlify. So Edge Functions. If you want to learn more, you can actually run Edge Functions to do your whole Remix deployment. I believe Astro is also working on this. We're trying to get quick support out as well, and Nuxt has the Nitro, Nuxt 3 Nitro has Edge function support. 11D has an Edge. 11D Edge Functions, I believe is a whole, yeah, there's a whole plugin for that if you want to use it. But let me just get to the Edge Functions, and then there's a blog post, and that blog post here has a list of, here we go. So Hydrogen, which is the Shopify framework, Next, SvelteKit, Nuxt, Astro, 11D, and Remix will all run on Netlify Edge Functions in some capacity. So you can use those today. So like Next middleware, for example, can run on Edge Functions. SvelteKit, there's a whole post about that. SvelteKit Edge. Oh, look, I have a, oh, that's not it. Here it is. So this is a Svelte app running on the Edge. And you can see that one doesn't work, and I don't know why. I don't know. This is all very experimental still, but pretty exciting stuff going on. You can find some articles. Actually, one of the best people to follow for this stuff is Matt Kane, who spends a ton of time working on just the upstream everywhere. I think at this point, Matt has PRs into, he was at Gatsby. So he's contributed a ton to Gatsby. He's also contributed to Next, to Svelte, to Astro. Like, he's everywhere. And just a good source of information about all of these pieces and how they work. So a good follow there if you're trying to pick up more details about how the Edge works. So, all right, so the next thing that I want to do then is I want to figure out how to make this work. So let's figure out some like, do Amazon extensions or TLDs. And we're going to set one. So US is .com. We want, I guess we're going to have to do it this way because of the way that I've set this up, but Amazon.com. And then we've got UK is going to be Amazon.co.uk. Somebody give me another one. Who's in the chat from not the US or the UK? What is your Amazon link? Canada. Good call. So we'll do Amazon.ca. Japan. Yep. Japan is JP. What is Amazon? Is it .jp? .co.jp. Co.jp. There was another one, DE. Amazon.de. Yeah. Amazon.de. And let's do one more, India. So India, do a amazon.in. And I'm going to stop there because I will have to do more of these later, but let's do this. I'm going to get the Amazon TLD equals Amazon TLDs, and we're going to go with country code or US, right? We'll fake it in there. So I actually can even do this because then I know it'll work, right? And then we'll do one of these. So we'll default to the US if I don't have a fallback for it. We can drop in our Amazon TLD here, and then what I'm gonna do is also drop it in here, and let's see if we can make this work. So I'm coming in with my localhost here. All right, and if I search for Amazon, we get a .com. Okay, so that's good. That's me. Now, I don't have a way. I can't turn on like a VPN or else I'll break the stream. So I'm going to have to send this over to... Oh, nice. Thanks, Tony, for the locale reference. Yeah, we're going to have to do some PRs welcome here for that so that maybe there's... Pull this over. I have too many things now. I'm going to share this again because I have a macro now that Aiden built for me. Aiden runs the show. To automatically drop these into a Discord channel so that they're easier to find. So excellent. All right, here's all of our setup. Good. And so we can go through and do setup there. For now, I'm going to leave it where it is, and I actually want to deploy this. So let's get it up on a we'll get it up on a deploy preview. So we're gonna go git commit, and we'll say feature add geo support for Amazon links. Ah, crap. Really screwed that up, didn't I, chat? Okay, so then I'm gonna git push. We'll do origin feed geo, and then what I want to do is do a GitHub PR create. Is that the code? Yes. All right. I'm going to hit this. We'll say this pull request adds edge functions to localize Amazon links based on geo code. Built live on Learn with Jason. All right, now I got to remember how to exit. Let's see, Control X. Yes. And then you just hit enter and hope for the best. Now I'm going to submit. All right, let's open up this PR and take a look. All right, so that's building for us. If I go back to my account, I can see the site is building. So here's my deploy preview. ngrok. Oh, that's cool. You could totally do that. Have y'all not heard the story of Blitz Jackson? So Blitz Jackson is my alter ego, I guess. I don't know. One time I was talking about needing to like have a wrestler persona, like a finishing move, and we decided that my finishing move, like my wrestler name, would be Blitz Jackson. But then we also decided that that sounded like a weatherman, so we figured out that my pro wrestling persona is a disgruntled weatherman. named Blitz Jackson, and my finishing move is like the scattered showers or something. I don't know exactly what that looks like. Like maybe I get a bunch of chairs and I throw them in the air and then I like kick somebody so that all the chairs fall on. I don't know. But that's Blitz Jackson. Is this thing done building? Almost. Almost. Oh, we're running a lighthouse. Okay, so that's building. Build script success. I also want to show that lighthouse thing because it's super cool. Check this out. So now you can see your lighthouse scores in here. That's a lot of fun. The breezy tornado. That is good. That is good. Could call it the hailstorm. Could call it the flash flood. Or maybe, maybe this is like more of a like a Tekken sort of thing where you have a lot of moves and not just one finisher. Anyway, should we look at this deploy preview? Okay, so here's my deploy preview, and we can go to this like test. Wait, what was the setup for this? Let's see, do I need to fix anything to make this work? Oh yeah, I made it API greeting. Okay, so that works. All right, that's good. Let's go to uses. All right, let's search for my Amazon.com. Yup. Okay. And then let's go to uses, right? Now, here's what I want y'all to try, chat, is get in here and try this and just let me know. Like if you're not in the US, go. And the one that we want to look at is this ArcScan mechanical boom arm. If you hover over this, you can see in the bottom, actually you probably can't see in mine because I have the window too small. Let's make this actually visible here. Okay, if you hover over here, bottom left, you can see that it's Amazon.com. So give it a shot and let me know if you're seeing a .co.uk, No, okay, try API uses. Let's see if maybe we're like a layer deep and that's causing problems. Is this one working? How are we doing on time? We got like 20 minutes to fix this. We're gonna be golden. And then I want to go to my functions. Okay. So one of these was called correctly, and that was in the US. Oh, you know what I bet this is? I bet this is because I have the API deployed as an on-demand builder, and I bet I'm caching. So let's wait. No, I don't. Hold on. Oh no, this is not it. This is here's my functions, here's my uses, here's the builder. So let's not use the builder. Don't use on-demand builders for uses. Okay, and so this, maybe. Oh yeah, look at that. It's coming up undefined. So that's a whole other wait, why? Why would it come up undefined? I know why. I know why. Because I did that whole thing about like not... I need to escape to US, right? But then I also need to log the country code. geo country code. Okay, and so then we'll be able to see a little bit more. Git commit fix, fallback to US, better logging. Oops. Let's push, and then when we come back out here, we can go to our deploys. I'm going to cancel this one because we don't actually need it anymore, and I'm going to let this one run instead. This is going to use our cache. Is there an echo on the stream right now? Oh, Tony, you were joking about. Okay, I understand. All right, so this is going to build. It's going to run. While we're doing that, maybe we play this matching game. I love this matching game. All right. Am I winning? Oh, I'm good at this. Famous last words. I said I was good at it, and I'm definitely not. Huh? This one? This one? Yep. Yep. No mistakes. All right. Anyways, we're done. Let's go back to this deploy preview, and y'all give this a try, and let's see what happens. That game got added. Was it the beginning of this year? It was around the beginning of this year. This was a really great idea from the Netlify front end team. I'm not going to name names because I can't remember exactly whose idea it was, but they all did a lot of work. And then the emoji in there rotate out every once in a while. So like around the holidays, there was actually this has been in for longer than that, because there was one around the holidays that was like snowmen and stuff like that. And then we swapped out for this, and I think there's some plans to do some more. So a lot of fun there. But still getting .com in Canada. Blast. All right, let's go look at the edge function log again and get a sense of what's going on in here. Everybody hit these functions. Yeah, take it to the logs, y'all. Let me get to this. Where is it? This one? No? You? All right, are you showing up in the logs? Oh no, you know what just happened in my head? And it was terrible, is I just thought of that DMX song. And then in my head I was saying, where my logs at? I'm very sorry. I can't play any of this because it'll get me a DMCA takedown, but I can drop this. Get out of here. Shush. I can drop this here for y'all to go and watch. So why aren't my logs working? Like, what's going on here, y'all? Am I getting crashes? Like, are things going wrong? Running in no, I don't want it to run in production. I want it to run. This is my deploy logs for deploy ID. Oh boy, y'all, my whole camera rig just ran out of battery. Sorry. So we're just let me do all of this all at once. Sorry, y'all. Let's just see if we can get. I can't believe I did that. Okay, let's go see if this works. You 100% should have worked. Like, what is your malfunction? API uses. Right, okay, so this one is working, but I think what's happening is this one working if I go here, Amazon.com, Amazon.com. Okay, so we have a couple problems here, one of which is I think I may have not Geo Amazon, right? So, okay, so this, we're just gonna, yeah, let's debug the way that we know how. I didn't spot the raid. Is the raid what broke me? What's up, Code It Live? Thank you all for coming and hanging out. I don't know if you watch me completely blow my camera setup, but both my camera and mic battery died at the same time, so we went dark there for a minute. But we're back. We're working on Netlify Edge Functions today, and we are I think dangerously close to getting this to run. So what we've done thus far is let me push this, and then we'll walk through the code while we wait for it to build. So what we've done is we've set up an edge function. A Netlify Edge function is a standards-based little piece of code that runs at the edge, so basically where the CDN is. And what we're trying to figure out is how to get our geo data, our country code, to replace the Amazon link with a localized one for my uses page. So if we look at my uses page here, a couple of these links are Amazon links, and I know that it bugs me whenever I click an Amazon link and it takes me to like a .co.uk or something, because I can't buy from there, right? So I want to replace this .com with the localized version. So what our function is intended to do is, if I can find it, get your country code out of the edge function, which is one of the things that edge functions do well, and then find the right Amazon TLD, and then show that to people based on where they are in the world. And I just realized there's no way this is going to work because we're running at build time, which means there's no way that this can function because it's only going to build once and then show that URL. So I need to actually transform the uses page, not the API response. Okay, y'all, we're getting there slowly. So let's just try this one more time, but we're gonna do it this time with, let's get, okay, so we're gonna run this locally, and we're gonna update the netlify.toml to target uses instead of the API. And that is not working. And it's not working because I did it wrong or because let's see, what's missing? Localhost 888. It's not hitting that function. So let's check here. Is it path uses function geo Amazon? I'm gonna stop and restart it. Oh wait, reloaded. Refresh. It's not hitting. So I want to stop this. Try it one more time. Because you should be running. Like, did I typo something? Do y'all see anything? I'm gonna go to, let's try this API get greeting first. Okay, so our functions are running. Ha, okay, here we go. So, but I set the wrong type. But that's okay because we knew. So now if I do this, it should show me the right thing, and it's replaced. Okay, all right, so now we've got this running dynamically, and theoretically, let's keep it theoretical at the moment. If I push this, finally, whoops, git add all, we're gonna say git commit fix. How much time do we have? So little time. This is gonna be our last try. I hope this works. Localize the right page. Okay, so we're gonna push, and we're going to go out to our deploys. We're gonna watch this deploy go. And while we do that, we can look at, for all the folks who joined late, this is the anatomy of an edge function. You export a function and you return something. And so what we've been using as our point of reference are these Netlify Edge Functions docs. So you can jump in there and give that a try. And this has been a lot of fun. It's a lot to learn. I was mentioning that really one of the only times I get to code these days is during streams. And so I've been learning right along with y'all. I haven't had a chance to really play with these very much at all. But what is exciting about these, if you get the chance to go and play, is check out this example repo, because the team did a really good job on these. We've got a ton of examples. So there's basic stuff. There's how to rewrite in proxy. You can set custom headers. You can do content transformation, geolocation. You can mess with cookies. You can do like environment debugging, so you have access to environment variables. There's a ton of stuff that'll show you how to make this work. And if you just want to try it, you can just deploy to Netlify and get this whole thing running on your own setup so that you can use these. Let's see, our build is done. There it is. So we're going to come back out here. I'm going to run this and hopefully refresh. It's still not doing the thing. What is up, y'all? Why is this not working? So I'm doing something wrong with my deployment. Let me look at my edge functions here. So it is grabbing the data, which is somewhat concerning. So the call is working, but the replacement is not working, which means I've done something wrong. And the thing that I've done wrong is what? Stillget.com. Yeah. So why though? I don't know. Don't know what I'm doing. Wondering if it's possible to get the geo information in the country main language. I don't know, actually. That would be something to maybe ask in the forums or something like that. How many minutes do we have? We have 3 minutes. And so we're getting like this part. Probably what I'm doing is something in here that I need to address. It could be that the replacement on that much HTML is taking too long, and so it's exceeding our 50 millisecond timeout and just passing through the original response. It could also be that I need to use something like the HTML rewriter, which I unfortunately will not have time to try today, but there is a Wasm HTML rewriter. This is a cool thing here. So this uses WebAssembly so that it's useful in any runtime. And so what this would let us do is actually get the streaming response, because we didn't look at this today, but Edge Functions can also do streaming responses. And what we would be looking at is for each link, looking at the href and then setting the href to be the updated Amazon TLD. So I will work on this a little bit and try to get it fixed, but unfortunately we are out of time today. So what I'm going to do is one more shout out to our captioner. We've had Ashley with us here all day today from White Coat Captioning. Thank you very much for being here. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, NX, and Backlight, all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people, which I very much appreciate. While you're checking out things on the site, you can go and check out the schedule. We've got some great stuff coming up. Later this week, we are going to have Johannes Schickling on about Content Layer, which is a way to take any type of content, markdown, CMS stuff, whatever, and make it into type-safe JSON. You may know Johannes from his work on Prisma, so if you like the way Prisma works, you're probably going to like the way Content Layer works. And then we got a whole bunch more coming up. I need to get them listed on the site. And if you're interested in seeing somebody on here, please let me know. Tag me on Twitter with who you'd love to see on Learn with Jason and what you want to learn, because we're always looking for new guests. Extra points if you are looking at the entire community. Look for people who don't look like you and send me recommendations. All right, y'all, that's all for today. We're going to go find somebody to raid. I'm going to figure out how to get this thing running, and we will make that work. And we're gonna go. Let's go raid Some Antics Dev. So let's see. Ben, it looks like he's gonna start any second now. So thank you all very much for hanging out. We will see you all next time.